Hello, Matt here. School has ended for me, but summer school has not started, so I got a week off this week, and I have next week off as well. So time to squeeze in some more videos. I'm gonna do everyone's favorite Celtic balladeer, the Irishman Supreme, Mr. Van Morrison today. I hope I'm not biting off more than I can chew. I'm going to do everything from the 60s, 70s, 80s up through the, what was it? That's right, Enlightenment album of 1990. It's the last one I have. It's good, too. So I found everything except for that one he made with the Chieftains, what was it, Irish Heart from the late 80s. I believe I have everything here. No box sets, no fancy mobile fidelity. Well, there's no audiophile Van Morrison CDs that I know of. No Japanese discs. They're just all CDs, remastered CDs, and some of them are old, like from the time that they came out. So anyways, this might be a longer than usual show. It's okay. Van deserves it. He's one of the, I called Chuck Berry a god the other night. Well, Van Morrison's a god too. Only saw him one time in the 2010s with Tom Jones. And I gotta be honest with you, as much as I like Van Morrison's voice, I think Tom out-sang him that night. But in terms of being a consistent album maker for decades, if you like Van Morrison, I don't think anybody else, who are you gonna say, Dylan, Lou Reed? I think those guys were great too, but they made some dud albums. I don't think I've ever heard a bad Van Morrison album. Not from 65 to 1990 anyway. I like them all, to varying degrees, and that's why he's a natural for a subject for my show. So let's start off in the mid-60s with Them. Now there's two ways to get the complete Them. They only made two albums, and there was a third album in 69 with Van Morrison, kind of like a best of, I don't remember. And then, they had Them without Van Morrison, but I'm not interested in that. This is the first thing that I bought that covered their whole career. It is, was it 2 discs? Yeah, 2 discs. It's in stereo. It's pretty good, this story of Them featuring Van Morrison. It's got everything, and if you're a stereo enthusiast, that's what you want. But this is better. This, the complete Them, 1964 to 1967, doesn't have any of the Van Morrison less stuff on here. 3 discs, and you get the stuff in mono, which is what I recommend, because I think if given my choice, I'm usually a mono guy. I will tell you guys when I prefer the stereo mix. Anyways, trying to get you guys the album covers here. There it is, Them, or The Angry Young Them, whatever you want to call it. It's the first Them album I ever had. There's only 2, right? It's real good. Can I give you the back of the cover? No? Okay. You get Gloria. Actually, you know what? That's the thing about this. You don't, these tracks are not all, they're not in the order that they appeared on the albums. So I just have to go from memory. Like, Here Comes the Night was a single, right? Gloria was on that album. Mystic Eyes is on that album. They were, Northern Irish. They did a lot of R&B stuff, like almost any band out of England or Ireland or Scotland did at that point in time. And I've said many times on here is that it's buying that stuff when I was a kid. It turned me on to the original versions. So going over the song titles will be difficult for me because I don't remember exactly what was on. Oh, Baby Please Don't Go is great. But see, I don't remember if all these songs are on that album or not. But that's the Big Joe Williams number, which I think that Them did the definitive version of. Here Comes the Night. I mentioned that All For Myself one more time. How Long, Baby? Mystic Eyes. I love that one. If You and I Could Be As Two. See, Van was writing a lot of the material, even at this early stage. Little Girl, Just Can't Win. Okay, so the second album is called Them Again, and it's not quite as good, but it's still solid. It's still solid. I'll just go over the whole Them discography now, since it's obvious I can't exactly remember which songs go on which album. Out of Sight is James Brown. Oh, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, the Dylan number. The Them version could be my favorite one. It could be my favorite version of that song. Bad or Good. Hello, Josephine. It's Fats Domino. Don't You Know? I like that one too. Hey Girl. Yeah, they do the Richard Cory, Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel number before Paul McCartney did it. Friday's Child, Story of Them, Part 1 and Part 2. Those are songs that came out on that third Them album with Van Morrison. I think it was called The Story of Them. That was in 69 or 70 or something like that. Anyways, great band. And I definitely recommend those two albums. And rather than just get CDs of that, just get this. Get the complete Them. I don't think it's out of print. I mean, I bought it when it came out some years ago, and if it's out of print now, I'm unaware of it. Okay. After that, Them toured here, or they played in the States. They definitely played here in LA at the Whiskey Go-Go, because they played with the Doors, and the two Morrisons, Jim and Van, sung on stage, and you can see pictures of them. This was in 66. Anyways, so Them breaks up. They had a revolving door of people in that band anyway, and Van decides to have a solo career, signs with Bang Records, and he's got his solo album, which the only way you can get the complete or the original LP mix, which is not a remix, is to get this, the authorized Bang collection. I don't know if this little booklet has a picture of the album, but it might. Always bugs me when they don't. Oh, here it is, but it's small. It's okay, I'll show it to you anyway. He never liked this album cover. It kind of has like a psychedelic look to it, blowing your mind. Van was never really psychedelic. The album, though, is not bad. It's not one of his best, but it's got Brown Eyed Girl, which is virtually his signature song. He Ain't Give You None. TB Sheets is one of the better cuts on there. Spanish Rose, that was a single. Goodbye, baby, baby, goodbye. Row, row, Rosie, who drove the red sports car. Midnight Special. It's All Right, Send Your Mind, The Smile You Smile, The Back Room, Joe Harper, Saturday Morning. Some of these songs weren't on the album. Beside You, and well, that's the original mono mix of Beside You from next year's Astral Weeks. Madam George, Chickaboom, which is I can't remember if that was a single or not. And The Smile You Smile. Anyways, disc 2 is Bang Sessions and Rarities, and then there's a crappy third disc, which you don't even need to listen to. But if you want to get his first album, Blowing Your Mind, in the original LP mix on CD, that's how you do it. The authorized Bang collection. Get this and that Them compilation that I showed you. And you've got your pre-Astral Weeks Van Morrison. Okay. Astral Weeks. Astral Weeks, one of the great late 60s albums. Here's the remaster. Oops. I'll tell you guys my little story about Astral Weeks. Astral Weeks was a difficult album for me. That was the first time remastered. This is a cardboard sleeve. Here's just the regular old 80s CD that I had for decades. But this is the one you want, the cardboard one, if you want to get it remastered. I don't think there's any kind of deluxe edition of this album that I know of. And it's one of the great albums of the 60s, and I don't know why it's not been afforded, more of a box set edition. But these are songs, again, you're never going to hear these songs on the radio. You either know this album or you don't. Astral Weeks, Beside You, Sweet Thing, Cypress Avenue, The Way Young Lovers Do. I've heard that on the radio. Madam George, Ballerina and Slim Slow Slider. The album goes into ballad mode, kind of, a slower song mode after The Way Young Lovers Do. But the whole thing's a 5-star classic. It's one of those albums that you put on to kind of feel spiritual, and realize you're listening to music that nobody else could have made. Some of the stuff on Tim Buckley's first album kind of reminds me of Astral Weeks. Anyways, my Astral Weeks story. So this is an album that, I was well aware of its reputation when I was a kid. Well, at least in the 80s when I was in my late teens. One day I'll do a show on the Paul Gambaccini book, the top, I think it's called the top 200 rock albums, just like that, where he polled all these rock critics and, got their opinions on what the best albums were, and then he made a book with a picture of each album and listing all the songs on there. And then at the end, in the glossary, you could see pictures of each critic who contributed their top 10 to the book and what their top 10 was. So you could see, how he rated them and whatnot. But anyways, Astral Weeks was in the top 10. And I probably hadn't even heard of the album when that book came out, but I was on the lookout for it ever since then. But I didn't buy it until the 80s. And I was disappointed with it. It was unlike it wasn't rock music. I never heard anything like that before. So I returned it. And this was in the vinyl era before I started buying CDs. Then the CD era hit and I bought it again, just thinking, every home should have one. And then I started dating an Irish girl that I later married. And I put it on for her thinking, she might get it. And she did. And she just got it right away. And that's what made me think it doesn't have to grow on you. You just sit back and let it take over. I thought, if I played it, 50 times, no, it's just be more simple about it and let it just kind of wash over you. Anyways, it's a classic now. And, now I look back and think, what didn't I get, But anyways, Astral Weeks, one of the great albums of all time. One of the things that he is primarily known for. And that covers his 60s au vieux. Let's get into the 70s when he was at his peak, I think. Here's just a remastered CD of Moondance. For many years, I had the same thing as Astral Weeks. I had the regular 80s CD or whenever it came out. This is another one of his 5-star classics. And it's Stone Me, one of his best songs ever. Moondance. If Brown Eyed Girl isn't his signature song, it's Moondance. I would say it's something like, Gloria, but I bet you people listen to Gloria on the radio and they don't even know that Van Morrison wrote that. Crazy Love, Caravan, Into the Mystic, all those songs are classics. Come Running, These Dreams of You, Brand New Day, Everyone, Glad Tidings. At first you think side 2 isn't quite as good as side 1, but it is. It is. This is another 5-star classic, another one of the albums he is known for. Here is the 5.1 mix, the surround sound mix. It is multi-discs, 4 CD, 1 Blu-ray. Again, this is my preferred way of listening to it. So, but you don't have to get the surround sound mix. The regular remastered CD is perfectly good. This, I don't know if there's I guess this is the box set for Moondance. Again, there should be one for Astral Weeks. Weird that there's not. All right. This one's pretty good. This is the, again, cardboard sleeve, just like Astral Weeks, of his band in the street choir with the little remastered sticker. It's a solid album. I don't know if it's one of his best, but it's certainly not a weak album. Domino is one of his biggest hits. Crazy Face, Give Me a Kiss, I've Been Working, that's a good one. Call Me Up in Dreamland, ditto. I'll Be Your Lover Too, Blue Money, used to hear that on the radio. Virgo Clowns, Gypsy Queen, Sweet Janny, If I Ever Needed Someone, and Street Choir. Solid record, all right? 71, I want to say, is his band in the street choir. Some of these albums I may forget the years, but I'll always try and tell you when it was released, especially when you get into the 80s. I'll probably get some of those years confused. All right, his band and the street choir. All right, here's an old CD of St. Dominic's Preview. I don't know if this is remastered or not. This is one of his stronger albums. This is great. I love this one. Cut for cut. This is, well, it's more solid than his band and the street choir. Jackie Wilson Said, I'm in heaven when you smile. That's one of his bigger hits. That's one I used to hear on the radio. Gypsy is fantastic. I Will Be There. Listen to the Lion is really long. You know, that's when he's into the cosmos and his spirituality, his Celtic soul type stuff. St. Dominic's Preview is a great song. Redwood Tree, and then another really long one, Almost Independence Day. It's another 5-star album. You know, this is he had moved into the Bay Area in the late 60s, I think. And I think he made a lot of his best music when he was there. I don't know when he moved back to Ireland. So probably should have researched that before I said anything. Tupelo Honey, another strong one. Probably stronger than his band and the street choir. From a time when he was having hits on the radio. There you go. Wild Night, that was a hit, right? Straight to Your Heart Like a Cannonball, that's a good one. Old Woodstock, Starting a New Life, You're My Woman. Tupelo Honey is one of his great numbers. I Want to Rue You, The Scottish Derivative, When That Evening Sun Goes Down, and Moonshine Whiskey, another strong album. Not a 5-star classic like Astor Weeks, Moondance, or St. Dominic's Preview, but I'm going to say better than his band, The Street Choir. And his band, The Street Choir, is a fine album. This is a near classic, 1972. All right. Hard Nosed the Highway. This one, ironically, this one was in the Paul Gambaccini book I mentioned earlier. I don't think it's one of his stronger albums, though. I mean, it's okay. This is a nice remaster. Snow in San Anselmo's good. Warm Love is one of his classics. Hard Nosed the Highway, Wild Children, The Great Deception, Being Green, Autumn Song, and Purple Heather. I don't hear too many classics on that list. But like any Van Morrison album that I'm going to talk about on this show today, it's not bad. This is going to be a long show, I can tell. Where is it? 17 minutes already, and we're only on 73. It's not bad. Like I said, it's in the Gambaccini book, but probably because one guy probably voted for it high, and that's why it appeared in there. But, you know, this is probably his first, not a fall, but maybe perhaps a stumble. Yeah, all right. In 74, 2 albums. The classic Wiedenflies. This was probably my ex-wife's favorite Van Morrison. Oh, she played the most. This one in Astor Weeks. I know this one like the back of my hand. If this isn't considered a classic, it should be. This is another 5-star album. Especially the side 1. Fair Play, Lyndon Arden Stole the Highlights, Who Was That Masked Man, Streets of Arlo, Arklow. You Don't Pull No Punches, But You Don't Push Her. Those are just fantastic songs. Bulbs, Cul-de-sac, Comfort You, Come Hear My Love, and Country Fair. Sometimes his side 2s weren't quite as impressive as his side 1s on these LPs, but they're still great. This is a 5-star album, and it's probably the last Van Morrison album that I can fully say is a classic. All right? Although, you know, he has some damn good albums after this, and I'll tell you which ones they are. Then that same year, It's Too Late to Stop. Now, there's a whole box set on this album that I don't have, but it is one of the great live albums of the 70s with an immaculate set list. Oh, my God. No, I'm not going to try and read that. But anyways, it's, oh, you know what? I can read the CDs. Ain't Nothing You Can Do. That's an old R&B song. Warm Love from the 73 album. Into the Mystic, These Dreams of You. I Believe to My Soul. He's a big Ray Charles guy. I've Been Working. Help Me. Wild Children. Domino. I Just Want to Make Love to You. You know, the blues number. And Bring It On Home to Me, Sam Cooke. St. Dominic's Preview, Take Your Hands Out of My Pocket. Don't remember that one. Listen to the Lion. Oh, he does that long number. Here Comes the Night, his paean to Them. Gloria, another one. Caravan and Cypress Avenue. Outstanding. Probably should have got that box set, but you know, guys, I can't have everything. That's the truth. Okay, nothing in 75 and 76. He took those 2 years off, having a little bit of writer's block, I believe. He had the aptly named A Period of Transition in 1967. This is a fine album. It's not, you know, it's about as good as Hard Nosed the Highway, I think. If there's nothing classic on here, there's nothing lousy either. You Got to Make It Through the World. It Fills You Up. The Eternal Kansas City. I did get tired of that one. Joyous Sound. Flamingos Fly. Heavy Connection. I like that one. In Cold Wind. In August, Dr. John McGrabenek did produce this. It perhaps should have been better, you know, taking 2.5 years off or 3 years off or whatever, but that's okay. You know, he would slowly get back in the groove again. Wavelength is an average album, probably not as good as A Period of Transition, but it's got that song Wavelength, which was a hit. Kingdom Hall, checking it out. Natalia, Venice, USA, Lifetimes, Wavelength. Santa Fe, Beautiful Obsession, Hungry for Your Love, Take It Where You Find It. I haven't played this album too much in my life, so I don't know it as well, but I could say the same thing about A Period of Transition. But one thing that was a really good album for him to finish off the 70s is this is an old 80s CDs I've remastered, of Into the Music. This is a good one. This is almost like the first of his 80s albums because he was consistently good in the 80s. Bright Side of the Road is one of his best ever numbers. Full Force Gale, that's a great one too. Steppin' Out Queen, Troubadours, Rolling Hills, You Make Me Feel So Free, Angelou, and The Healing Has Begun. I like that one. It's All in the Game, the old number from the 50s, and you know what they're writing about. When he made this album in 79, this was his strongest album since Beaten Fleece. All right, it has a commercial sound. I recommend it. All right, thus endeth his great period. Although, you know, I shouldn't say that because he may not have any 5-star classics in the 80s, but he doesn't have any mediocre albums either. Common One, 1980. This one kind of got a mixed reception. There's people on here who think, well, online, who think that this is a classic. I like it. Haunts of Ancient Peace, Summertime in England, I like that one. Satisfied, Wild Honey. You'd already had that album, right? Spirit, and When Heart Is Open, then you get some bonus tracks. There's some long numbers on here, you know, which sometimes some of these numbers can go on too long, but it's still good. Any decent Van Morrison album can be put on and enjoyed as background music. You know, you can concentrate on it or not. I don't always concentrate on the lyrics in Van because he's going for almost like what Michael Stipe would do in the 80s, where like his voice is like another instrument. You know, it's not so important, I don't think, to concentrate on what he's saying, although the lyrics, I think, are on virtually all of these CDs if you want to know what he's saying, as it is just to have it, I'll use that phrase again, wash over you. All right, so Common One, probably not as good as his 79 album, but still pretty good. Okay, I don't think he did anything in 81. 82, Beautiful Vision. I like this one. This is one that my ex-wife used to play too. Celtic Ray, Northern Muse, I'm a dweller on the threshold. That's one of his best numbers, I think. So is Beautiful Vision. She Gives Me Religion is good. Cleaning Windows is a great little bouncy pop tune that they should have played on the radio, you know? By this point, he was thoroughly making kind of adult middle-of-the-road music, but it was great. And so they just weren't going to play this on rock radio in the early 80s, which was catering to teenagers, of which I was at the time. But I dug me some Van Morrison, so it's too bad that, you know, the program directors or the DJs aren't more open-minded about this kind of stuff. Van Loo's Stairway, Aryan Mist. Listen to those titles. Aryan Mist. Across the Bridge Where Angels Dwell. I like that one too. And Scandinavia. This is a good, solid record. A good, solid record. And when he did his live album, which I don't have later on, in his Irish live album, he did some of these numbers on there. Okay. All right. Inarticulate Speech of the Heart is 83. This one's underrated. Now, this is not one that I had at the time. I didn't discover this until later, but I realized I really should have. Everything on here is good. It's probably more consistent than Beautiful Vision, but it doesn't have those little bouncy numbers that would have sounded good on the radio. But, you know, that's a matter of opinion. I'm going to say probably overall, I like this one more than Beautiful Vision, but they're both solid in different ways. Yeah, I can't read that. You know, the red font with the black background. But it's a solid record, and I'm going to say this is one of his more underrated albums. All right? Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. If you like other Van in the 80s, you know I have this one, you're going to like this one. All right? Yes, you are. All right. A Sense of Wonder, 85. I think 84 is when he had that live album, which I don't have. Well, I'm kind of running out of things to say because these are all good albums. They're all good. A Sense of Wonder has a bit more of an optimistic kind of vibe to it. Tore Down a la Rambo, Ancient of Days, Evening Meditations, The Master's Eyes, What Would I Do Without You, A Sense of Wonder, Boppy Flow, and Spike, if I'm reading it right, If You Only Knew, and then Let the Slave, which incorporates the price of experience in it, and A New Kind of Man. Another solid record. Probably not as good as Articulate Speech of the Heart, but it's solid. By this point, he's making Van Morrison music. It's that peculiar mixture of, things with strings and choirs, and you might think it would be overproduced if it was any other artist, but it works for him. It really works for Van the Man. All right, now I'm starting to lose track of when these things were released. I'm going to go with I almost got the title is wrong. No Guru, No Method, No something. Oh well, again. It's about as good as A Sense of Wonder. I'll tell you the tracks on here again. Got to Go Back. Oh, the Warm Feeling. Foreign Window. A Town Called Paradise. In the Garden. Tirna Nog. Here Comes the Night. K-N-I-G-H-T this time. Thanks for the Information. One Irish Rover and Ivory Tower. Another solid record. Again, nothing you were going to hear on the radio. This one and A Sense of Wonder. And the Articulate Speech of the Heart. But these are all three solid ones in a row. Making Van Morrison music. If you like the man, you'll like this. This one, though, from 87, was really good. Poetic Champions Composed. This is another one that my ex-wife used to play a lot. Spanish Steps, The Mystery, Queen that Strips Flame. I love that one. Forgot That Love Existed is good. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. This one almost has like a Veed Fleece vibe to it. Celtic Excavation, Someone Like You, Alan Watts Blues, Give Me My Rapture, Did You Get Healed, and Allow Me. I think this is a highlight of the late 80s. Poetic Champions Composed. Again, undervalued. Didn't hear it on the radio. Never seen a video on MTV at the time, but it's solid. And I think after this comes the Irish Heart one that I couldn't find, but it's good. I don't know a whole lot about the Chieftains, but that's his most Irish, obviously, sounding record that he made, probably ever. Or at least that I own. It's too bad he never did. Did he ever do anything with the Pogues? Boy, that would have been great too. Although I think they were coming at things from a different way at that point. Okay, kind of winding down here. I want to say Avalon Sunset is 89. I like this too. You know, this is another one that we used to play a lot. 89. In fact, I might as well do this one and Enlightenment at the same time. This is 1990. My ex-wife used to play both of these albums a lot, so that's why I know them. They're both solid. You know, again, making Van Morrison music. It's spiritual sounding. Whenever God shines his light's really good. I don't need to read all the song titles anymore because you won't have heard them. But these are both solid records. And I end here 1990, not because, you know, I think that he went downhill after that, because we stopped buying his you know, his latest albums after this. I think that The Philosopher's Stone comes after this, I think. I don't remember now. But of course, he makes records. He's made some pretty good records in the 21st century, and they still sell in Europe. So, all in all, yeah, he's one of my guys. I didn't forget anything, did I? Looking around, I don't think so. Very consistent. I kind of, you know, like he would be like a Paul McCartney or a Bob Dylan or a Lou Reed, where like I just bought tons and tons of his albums for many, many years, and so I just said, okay, I got enough. You know, but most of them are good. I wouldn't even know what my least favorite Van Morrison album that I just showed you was. No, I don't really have a thought on that. They're all fairly consistent, and some of them, of course, are brilliant. So anyways, that was my celebration of Van the Man. It exceeded 30 minutes. Haven't done a video like that in a while. Till next time, Matt, signing off.